Hey guys, Mike here. So today we're going to talk about Palantir stock and SoFi stock news that's come out this week. And obviously Alex Karp has been busy with interviews. We're going to talk about what he said and an interesting pattern that might be forming on the Palantir stock chart, as well as a new marketing campaign SoFi has been engaged in. We're going to see how well that has been working and talk about some other news. Actually, good news with SoFi because it's had a really good week this week. And so, if you get anything out of it, all I'm asking, hit the like, subscribe button, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. That's all I'm asking from you. I really appreciate it. Only if you get something out of this. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and start off with Palantir stock first. And starting off with Palantir stock chart here, guys, you can see that arrow shows where I did the last video. And then you see during the week, it moved up a little bit, not much. The question I got is this starting in an upward trend again? And the reason why I ask that is you can see here during earnings right here, boom, huge upward trend, just keeps bouncing off of it for weeks. Then it comes down, consolidates, then we hit earnings again, big move up again on that trend line. And then you can see it come down. The question is it consolidating or moving up? I tend to think consolidation because, remember, if you look right here, there is no earnings till November, right? We're in October, see, no earnings. And so I have to look back at the saying. Remember, 1 is chance, 2 is coincidence, and 3 makes a pattern, right? But there is no earnings right now. So I tend to think more consolidation. But what do we have going on right now? We have 2 big green days in the market, right? So is the market starting to go on another upward trend itself? If that happens, Palantir might be on the run and might not need earnings to actually propel it up like this. And so it's something to look at, but remember, it takes 3 to make a pattern. So this might be the 3rd time, but I tend to think, obviously the market's still volatile right now. If the pattern really holds true, it's going to wait till earnings and then go on that big run. Okay, we'll have to, check it out, see all that good stuff. We are in interesting times right now with this market because you never know where it seems to want to go. And so, now I want to go into Alex Karp and some stuff he said. He's been really busy this week, actually stepping out there, and he doesn't really talk a lot, but this week he was busier more than usual. And the one thing you can say about Alex Karp, the guy's just blunt. He just tells it like it is, whether you agree, disagree, doesn't matter. He's very blunt. So taking a look at what he says, he's basically saying no reason Palantir shouldn't 20x.
On from a company, we crossed the $1 billion GAAP revenue market. There is no reason this company should not be 20 times bigger. We both overestimate and underestimate ourselves in private, but the version of Palantir I see is that when we were in Palantir in 2008, we had a half a product held together by people who were willing to live in a skiff. And that product now powers most of the intel services in Europe and stops terror attacks that otherwise would have turned Europe into a different kind of Europe where walking that would be very, very far outside the norm on the right side. So we fundamentally changed the history of America and Europe by stopping terror attacks. We had a failed product, which we overcame. We built mini products that we're aware of, Guy and others, that other people don't know exist, but actually power a lot of the efforts you see in the news. We launched Foundry, which is definitely, inarguably, the most successful product in the world in what we do. By the way, in any other company, it'd be 400 products with 1,000 salespeople on each one. We re-galvanized our American image, which I think was suffering under being private for too long. We became not only neutral in America, but exceedingly charismatic. We're the only company that DPO'd with people of its own leadership, people at Palantir, especially new people or people who are younger, which is many people at Palantir, assume that in a normal company, the people run the company, own the company, and are interested in the company working long term. This is mostly not the case. We were able to get into the public markets without selling our souls to the vicious, vacuous, and otherwise idiotic forces of banking, because we're not in the business of sales. We're figuring that out. Sure, we'll talk about more. We are doing great efforts to figure that out in Europe and in America.
And, obviously he thinks a lot of his company and what they've done. And again, that's the one thing about Palantir is we really don't know a lot of what they've done because a lot of it was secret, right? It was top secret, so they couldn't even mention it. Okay, that's one of the problems with the company trying to grow is a lot of people just don't know and they can't tell people what they've actually done or how powerful, their products actually are sometimes. But, you can tell on the other hand, I'm glad he's seeing that, boy, just because you have a great product don't mean people are going to buy it. You actually have to have a sales team. You have to market it. You have to get people out there, and they are way understaffed compared to other tech companies, which they're building on, right? They're getting better and better. So that's another thing I'll be listening to on this call like we did last time. They started building out the sales force, okay? So imagine, you think about that. They're almost $1 billion in sales, actually over $1 billion in sales, excuse me, and they don't really have a sales force. Imagine when they finally get their sales force built out to like the other tech companies to be able to rival them, what they would actually be able to do in sales. That's kind of scary to think about. I mean, think about it. In this circumstance here, you got, they've doubled the revenue, and since 2019, doubled it since 2019. They have grown this year. I think it's like on track around 40% year-over-year revenue growth, projected every year for like the next decade at like 30%. They've said year-over-year growth. They're going to be, as you can see right here, I mean, here's a projection. And you can just see by 2025, they're going to be around $5 billion in revenue. By 2030, they'll be over $10 billion, close to $12 billion in revenue. And then this is some of the numbers to look at as far as revenue growth and price of the stock. And I found this on Seeking Alpha. And to me, it makes sense. I think it's not too aggressive at all to think they're going to be doing this kind of stuff. And so from 2021 to 2029, you're looking at 38% year-over-year revenue growth in 2021 to be this year. Price of $24 by year end, which is only a couple of months. And then by 2029, you're looking around $135. And so, that's not bad. I mean, what is that, 6X, I think? And remember, they've had all the success so far with really out a sales team, okay? And so that's going to improve as time goes on. These finally, you can see in what he's talking about there, like, hey, we kind of learn, we got to have a sales team. That's right, Alex. You got to have a sales team to compete in this day and age, okay? And so, and a lot of this is going to depend on, one, how Palantir's Foundry for Builders goes for those startups, all the investment in the SPACs they've also partnered with. And then, how's the government contracts go, right, versus the commercial contracts, okay? That's what we need to see. And so, you'll get a lot. I'll be shocked if they don't crush earnings this time. They tend to usually beat earnings. But, and this is another thing Alex touched on this week when he gave another speech about, how entrepreneurs must be 10 to 100x faster in building than any normal company. Palantir is supporting those, pushing back and disrupting in the only way we know how, by obviously giving them Foundry for Builders. And as I always like to touch on, Ark Invest, as that's one of their biggest investors, they picked up probably about 300,000 shares this week overall to spread through pretty much all their ETFs, which of course Palantir is in every single one of them, I believe now. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see where the stock price goes before earnings. I think it's just going to follow what the market does, right? If we are actually moving in an upward trend on the S&P and NASDAQ, yes. If we're moving sideways, a good chance Palantir just moves sideways. And so we'll see if they actually complete the third leg to make it a pattern on that stock chart, and hopefully so. And so now I want to go into SoFi, and let's start off with their chart first. And you can see SoFi had a good week this week. I mean, went up 22% this week, so it was pretty nice to see. Broke above that 1725 level. And, looking back here, you can see they hadn't been this high in a while. So if we go back here and let's see what the next resistance lines are going to be. We can probably draw one right here. You're looking around 1945, which they broke through and they're sitting at right now. And then, so if you look ahead, if they continue to move up, again, if this market continues to move up and everybody keeps buying calls like it seems like they're buying, the next level of resistance is going to end up being around 2150-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the good thing is, look at that volume right there and compare it to everything to the left. This right here is institutional buying, not retail investors driving this up right now. And you can obviously see there's bullish sentiment behind SoFi still. You can see right there on the 1015 calls, the 1022 call, you look at the 1119 calls, compared to the puts, people are expecting this stock to continue to go up. And a big thing we got to watch out with SoFi here is, again, the reason why I bring up the institutional purchasing there is because if you look early in the year, only 11.4% of the institutions actually owned SoFi. And then when the next report came out, you're looking around 29% versus 48% of the general public. So that's a big thing because obviously, we as retail investors can push this stock up only so much. It's the institutions that are really going to drive it up because they'll be buying millions of shares. And you can see it is steadily going up. We'll know more in about 30 more days of where the institutions are at when they start reporting for the third quarter. And so that'll be big for this. But you can see that volume on the chart. That's institutional buying, not just retail investors pushing this stock up, okay? And so the other thing I always touch on is the only company I do this with is the eyeballs on it, right? So how are they growing their company? Because the fintech, industry is just, or the market, excuse me, is just so competitive. So what are they doing? They're doing a lot of marketing, right? And so, I was talking about SoFi Stadium, which I'll touch on again. Obviously, what happened this week, they had the Rolling Stones concert, you can see right there. So that's a lot of eyes on them. They're going to have many more events there this year. That's why I say it's a great marketing tool for them. But something else they actually did was they wrote out another marketing campaign called Move Your Money a couple weeks ago. And this one's being aired on NFL, college football, broadcast prime time, and all across major national cable and streaming platforms with, of course, a digital and influencer campaign with it. And that's the one I really want to touch on. And what they're doing here, guys, is they launched a sweepstakes calling on members to share their money move story on video to Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, highlighting how SoFi helped them make money moves and by recording their take on the dance challenge, which of course they can actually win like $1,000. They get chosen. There's 10 prizes of that, as well as a grand prize of $25,000. And this thing right here, just on TikTok alone, has gotten 6.4 billion views. That's right, billion. And so as you can see some of these, videos and stuff, which, as I always say, they're going after younger customers, the younger generation. So where do you go? TikTok, Instagram, all those places. And so obviously they're getting the views. So if they even convert a small percentage of them into customers, that's going to be huge for them. And I want to thank somebody in the comments from last weekend when they said, oh, you forgot the biggest event coming in the next 3 months at SoFi Stadium, which is the Super Bowl, okay? And why is that big? Because 100 million people watch the Super Bowl every year, 100 million. Okay, and it's a big event. It usually goes on like all week there and stuff. People doing their thing and hanging out. And so, the one thing you got to think about for any other company to even get a 30-second commercial in the Super Bowl is $5 to $6 million. SoFi is only paying $20 million to have the naming rights and have their name and logo and events there for the whole year. Every year they only pay $20 million, right? So you'll see Doritos, they'll do a couple commercials, right? So they'll pay almost $10 million for 60 seconds, 2 30-second commercials roughly. And so it's just amazing what they pulled out, because that's only 10% of SoFi's marketing budget anyway. And so, it's just, it's going to be huge for them. Again, I love what the CEO did there. I'm really happy he did that. And so, and I think that's why you see, like I said in the last video, last Sunday, that they're projected to double their members by 2025, which I have no doubt that's what they're most likely going to do. And the great thing about that is their customer acquisitions keep getting lower and lower because they cross-sell all their products. That's the thing about being a one-stop shop, right? And so that's huge. That's what's killing traditional banks, is it costs so much more just to get a new customer and stuff in there. And so, especially in this competitive market, but see, and they're doing the opposite like Palantir. Palantir is just figuring out the marketing and sales, right? Well, SoFi knows it's all about the marketing and sales in the fintech space because it's extremely competitive. And so whoever's handling their marketing is obviously doing a very good job, and we'll see during earnings, is this paying off? You won't know anything about this marketing campaign until obviously fourth quarter, see if it pays off. But we'll see, and I'm kind of interested to see if they've tracked anything from the SoFi Stadium marketing campaign to see if that's working or not. So I hope you got something out of this. Hit the like, subscribe button if you did, guys. I really appreciate that. And share the video. And don't forget, hit that link down the bottom and sign up for a BlockFi account where you can earn up to 8.25% now on your stablecoins. That began October 1st. You can also sign up for that credit card and earn Bitcoin with every purchase that you make. That's what I am doing. And parking cash there to earn that 8.25% as well. And plus you can also go ahead and sign up for any loans you need against your cryptocurrency as well at a very reasonable rate.